In the next 10 minutes, you will discover 2 ways how you can grow your business, which took me 10 years to learn. All growth requires new resources, either being financial capital, human resource, talent, brand, or whatever form we need additional resources to be able to grow a business. And there are various forms, ways in which business owners and entrepreneurs can acquire those resources. You can first of all think of several ways that you might grow your business in your current state. Leaders often are challenged with having to choose from several options to grow either organically or by, for example, acquisition and merging with other businesses, right? And the question here is what makes the most sense in your current situation. So you can think of very different ways whether you can grow your business, for example, by growing your business vertically, right? Or for example, by setting up partnerships with other businesses, or perhaps by setting up a franchising, or either deciding to own extended business operations. These are all various options which we will discuss in this video. So in this video, we'll discuss 2 ways which can help you to actually grow and scale your business to your desired goals and objectives. So I will mention 2 ways. The first is internally growing, which is basically organic growth, and the second is external growth, which is basically by acquisition and by merging, and also by setting up partnerships and franchising. So let's get started. So welcome to my channel. My name is Luc Nicolas Vellerkritien, and my mission with Purpose Driven is to help people live a purpose driven life and business. So let's get started. So, what do we have in common when we look at business owners and entrepreneurs? That they always seek growth, at least in majority of the cases they do so. And it has to do with the fact that growth, providing more value to more customers and more clients, is actually what drives many business owners, knowing that you can of course have an increased financial result, more profit, more income with a bigger, more successful company. So the first thing I want to be discovering with you today is internal growth or organic growth. And organic growth is basically, the word already says it, it's growth that comes naturally, that comes in from the inside of a business. And you can think of organic growth by, for example, growing your human resources, growing the base with which you can provide services to your customers and clients in order to be able to serve more clients. Internal growth needs to be financed. So there's always a question of resource and capital. So how are you going to finance the acquisition of new employees, and how are you going to pay for them, right? So that it's a financing question, and question with regard to how we're going to find the right people for the right job. Internal growth is what has its pros and cons, most definitely. One of the pros of internal acquired resources, in this case, for example, human labor, is that you have a much more sustained structure. You have a much more systematic, let's say, you have an actual asset that you're adding to the business. Whilst the con of internally generating organic growth is that it provides less flexibility if perhaps you want to scale down, or for example, you want to expand horizontally in a market. But I will further elaborate on organic growth by looking at the 2 types of basically directions you can go towards. So we have vertical growth, which is basically doing more of what you're an expert in, of what you're a specialist in your business, right? And then we have horizontal growth, is basically expanding to, for example, other markets, other geographic locations with, for example, new product or service that it could be related to your current product or service. So for example, imagine you're a car manufacturer and you decide to you provide luxury luxury sports cars, and then you decide also to provide like family cars. That would be a horizontal expansion into a related business, of course, but it's still a horizontal expansion. Whilst the vertical expansion could be a specialization in, for example, sports cars, providing then electrical variations of that sports car. So to give you an example of how you can apply organic growth in your business is by looking at what are my objectives for my business. Do I want to, for example, to grow my revenue or my profits to a specific target? Then the question is performing a gap analysis. So where are you currently at? So what is your current level of revenue and where do you want to be? And what resources do you need to be able to cover that gap in order to increase your revenue and your profit? So the question is always question of resources. Every business has a constraining factor, bottleneck, and that bottleneck needs to be identified, needs to be targeted, and needs to be solved in order to solve that gap. So, first thing, for example, is ask yourself, where in my business am I currently operating at a capacity? And that could be anything. You don't have to be necessarily a manufacturing firm. A capacity could be, for example, financial capacity. You do not have the means or the financial results in order to borrow more money from a bank, or perhaps give out more equity, or perhaps your human resources are just not skilled or not educated enough. So that's also a constraining factor. If you want to, for example, to provide a more highly skilled service, right, a more specialized customer service based service, then you need people that are experienced, that can provide that value, that service to your customers. So in that case, your human resources, your laborers are your constraining factor. And for example, a third example could be, for example, your distribution channels. It could be that you have a lot of product or service, but your distribution channels are basically limited. And the last one could be market demand. It could be that you're in a market which is fully satisfied. Well, the probability that that will happen is very, very small. Imagine you are an accounting firm and you're basically feeling or experiencing that you have saturated the market. Know that if the whole market, the whole accountancy market, is several billions of dollars, then you would have, let's say, 0.5%, meaning that you still have more than 99% space to expand. And that is the case in many, many businesses. So the fourth one is usually not the case. The fourth reason for expanding, for growth, is not the case. Market is never, in my eyes, almost never the reason to stop a business from growing. Actually, it shows when there is high competition in a market that you will have an indicator of high demand, and that is actually something positive to have. So if you're in a market and you do not find that there is competition, then most probably you can conclude that there is not a lot of demand, or the demand is still growing. Okay, so moving on from organic internal growth. So by acquiring new capital, by acquiring new employees, new labor that can work for you, by acquiring new distribution channels, right? And the second way to grow is externally. Externally focuses on acquiring, for example, acquiring new partnerships, franchises. So basically, you're growing by adding other businesses or their operations to yours. So that could be, for example, by buying another company or by merging with. So buying is you take over a company, so one company eats the others. And the second option is merging, where two companies merge together and they fuse together. And then the third option is, for example, you you franchise. With franchising, basically what you're doing is, this is you as a company, you sell the whole system and process of your business to someone else, but you do not become owner of that business. You are only owner of that franchising license. So you receive a specific percentage of their profit as a compensation for giving them all the processes and systems and business processes that you have developed. So that is also a way of how you can expand externally, how you can grow your business externally, right? For example, a very good example of this is McDonald's. They have mastered the art of franchising. What they basically did is they expanded so quickly and so rapidly, geographically also, that they they leveraged the expansion tool of franchising to the max. Basically, they were able to arrive at any location in the world simply by selling this franchising license and using that as a growth tool. And the big advantage is that, for example, depending of course on the structure, is you do not need huge capital investments to grow because other people are investing also for you. So the next item that I want to be discussing is partnerships. Partnerships are a very powerful way where you can grow your business, perhaps by, for example, finding a way to work together. So basically it's kind of a merge, but not a legal merging with another business, because you both, you and the business partner remain different, remain separate legal entities. The only difference is that in a partnership, you could, for example, provide services under the name of that partnership by acquiring, by using and leveraging the network that that business has, also the skills and expertise and knowledge. But you at the same time remain an independent business. And the advantage of that is very similar to franchising, is that you do not need to invest significant amount of time and energy to build up a company owned operation. So we have four options. So we have to acquire a new business, to merge with another business, to start partnerships, and to do a franchising license. So these are several tools which you can use today to grow your business. And from personal experience, I've seen that depending on what type of product or service you have and what type of ambitions and goals you have for your business, one of those four methods, externally or internally, could actually prove useful for you. And the only way to find out is to take a time to think. I love this concept of thinking time, where you basically just take 60 to 90 minutes a week. You turn off your phone, turn off your laptop, and you just grab a pencil and a piece of paper and write down every thought that comes to mind. And it's about prioritizing. So if you want, for example, imagine you are, I use the example of an accounting firm because I'm an accountant myself. So imagine if you're an accounting firm, you are having difficulty to acquire new employees, right? Because there is a huge demand for accountants, but the the inflow of new students is very limited. And what you will see is that if you want to grow your business, but your constraining factor as an accounting firm is hiring new employees, therefore human resource is your constraining factor. So you have enough finances, so you can grow, you have enough cash to do so, but you're limited with regard to human resources. There's huge market demand, so that's not a problem, right? So you basically can identify using a thinking time session that you and your business need to be solving this constraining factor, that is of acquiring new skilled and qualified laborers, new employees. And how can you do that? So if you take the time to think things through, start to come up with creative new ways which you can actually make working for your firm more interesting. So you can think of, for example, incorporating new topics such as sustainability. So with the introduction of the CSR, the corporate social reporting disclosure, the that has been implemented in the European Union, which will start effectively on January the 1st of 2025, which has huge implications for the possibility that accounting firms can actually leverage. For example, they could have an expansion of growing their business in the sense that we mentioned, organically, by acquiring new employees and providing a new service. So they expand basically horizontally in towards a new expertise, and that is providing sustainability accounting. So it is very much related to also providing traditional accounting services, but it is a new market. So it's a horizontal expansion, you could assume, right? And then the next thing that they could, for example, do, merging, or let's say from that thinking time session, thoroughly thinking, writing down every possible creative solution to their human resource, they could think of changing up their remuneration model. A big help could, for example, to help to create more alignment within their employees, is to give them equity, for example. And equity can help very strongly in order to create more participation within employees, and also a long term let's say, tenure, that employees will eventually stay longer at the business because they know that they have their own financial benefits tied to the performance of the business. So that's, for example, a thing that you could be using, that could arise from a thinking time session in resolving such conflicts, in thinking about what growth strategy to use. So, well, I think for today, that provides a good description of how you can grow your business using internal or external growth strategies. And these strategies can be used also in combination with each other. It doesn't necessarily have to be used separately. I mean, that makes sense, right? So, again, I want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate you watching these videos. And as always, if you found these videos, if you find them valuable, if you find them informative, if you find them interesting, then please don't forget to subscribe. It means a lot to me. And don't forget also to leave behind a comment and a like. And I have another video about how branding is a very powerful strategy in business and can be used also as a tool for growth. Branding can create organic natural growth more easily than without it. So have a check that video out. And again, thank you and see you in the next one.